because not many people here know Telugu, I think, but I don't know any Kannada. Where to begin? I'm a human rights activist, and for nearly half a century, the human rights movement has been addressing the state, calling upon it not to view the Naxalite movement as a law and order security issue, but as a political movement rooted in the poor of the country, wherever they are present, the most marginalized, Adivasis, Dalits, mine workers, and the like, and to respond accordingly. In about 18 years ago, 2006, the Planning Commission of India constituted an expert group to study this phenomena. 2 years later, they came out with a report in 2008, April. It is usually referred as the Bandopadhyaya Committee report, D. Bandopadhyaya. It had as members Bela Bhatia, you were mentioning, Hamara Balagopal was there. They worked on the draft. It is called Developmental Issues in Extremist Affected Areas, in left-wing extremism area. Essentially, telling the state what I had said earlier, how to view this phenomena, how to respond to this challenge. And fundamentally what they said, I'll reiterate again, is that this movement cannot be viewed as an outbreak of criminality. This movement cannot be viewed, as the state is used to, as an outbreak of mere violence and disorder. It is rooted essentially in poverty, unfreedom, and a host of other things that have remained unaddressed. Our constitution gives us enough instruments and tools to address these issues. Do it sincerely is, to put it very simply and briefly, is what that report says. The government trashed it. You have people in the security establishment occasionally mouthing these platitudes that Naxalism is not to be viewed merely as a law and order issue. There are root causes, unemployment, poverty, joblessness, etc., etc. But the actual core approach of every government, whether it is the Congress, the BJP now, NDA, has been to view it, to describe it as a law and order problem and unleash the police upon it, security forces, with impunity. What we are witnessing today is possibly an intensified, acutely concentrated version of this approach to Naxalism playing out in Chhattisgarh. And more specifically in what you must have all heard about recently, the Karegutta area. Talk about that a little later. The human rights movement has been saying this right from when we all started. I heard Vempatapu Satyam, Adibhatla Kailasam, Bharati in the song, the Srikakulam Martyrs. From that time, when these organizations came about, whether it was APCLC, OPDR, I'm talking in terms of, there have been organizations before PUCL, etc., but in terms vis-a-vis the Naxalite movement, constantly calling upon the state to do this, not to just go around killing. The response from the state is, what do? They unleash violence, they go and kill police informers. In a more modern version, they blow up buses. Many security people die, many civilians also die. What are we supposed to do? Do nothing. We are a sovereign state, and our brief is to maintain law and order. What should we do? The human rights movement would say, yes, first recognize that it's a political movement that does employ violence to further its aims. You have to meet that violence. You are duty bound to meet that violence, but you have to do it in a manner that is respectful of the law and people's rights. You can't go around torturing people in custody, committing rapes, torturing people outside custody, burning habitations, consigning just about every household item to the well, to flames, committing extrajudicial killings, rendering people missing. That has not happened in Chhattisgarh, but it was a big thing in the state I come from, Andhra Pradesh. We've had dozens of these activists and people close to them virtually disappeared. We have heard of this as a Latin American phenomena. It's actually happened in Andhra Pradesh. Missing cases. Balagopal had worked a lot on this. We had actually made a lot of noise on this. So this was one thing that was employed. Stop doing this. You can't do this. But they would continue to do. They are continuing to do it. And what has Chhattisgarh not seen? What has Chhattisgarh really not seen? In a most concentrated fashion, friends here, many of you would know that in 2005 the Chhattisgarh government came out in this place called Kutru Kotrapal with this phenomena called the Salva Judum, a vigilante force, completely extra-constitutional, illegal, criminal to the core, arming civilian tribals from within that community. People were making comparison to Rwanda. Fortunately, it didn't go that far, but they did try for the cleavage. Total impunity. Villages, hundreds of them were emptied out, burnt. People were taken to camps, kept there forcibly. They thought they could isolate the Maoists and finish them off. This has always been the counterinsurgency strategy of the state. There's a booklet over there. I'm not pushing HRF literature, but there is one called, The Terrible Cost of an Inhuman Counterinsurgency. Whatever I'm saying, I'm borrowing from there. This is our experience on the ground with Chhattisgarh in particular, and the border districts of then United Andhra, now Telangana, with Chhattisgarh. Most venal manner. It went on for about 4 years. And you will remember, some of you, particularly Clifton and other lawyering folk, there was a remarkable judgment in 2011 by Justice Sudarshan Reddy. Are you a law person? You are not. And SS Nijar. Amazing judgment. I think Sudarshan Reddy penned it 2 days or 1 day before he was about to retire. 1 day before he was about to retire. Where they said the Salva Judum, having these special police officers, is all illegal, unconstitutional. Disband them immediately. And actually, I thought I would read it, but time is short. There are wonderful paragraphs in that judgment. Excellent. I remember we translated it into Telugu as pamphlets and distributed it. It critiques neoliberalism. Says greed is what is leading to this. Remarkable judgment. They have not implemented it. Rather, they took these people and formed something called the Chhattisgarh Auxiliary Force, gave them better weapons, better training, higher salaries, regularized them, regularized criminals. And then they discovered, the state also analyzes, they discovered that this whole Salva Judum phenomena has actually been counterproductive. We know in retrospect that it has increased Maoist recruitment. So they went easy on that by around 2008, 2009, and this is when what we see now began in earnest. Massive pumping of paramilitary forces. Initially it was called Operation Green Hunt. Remember such a meeting in Delhi. Balagopal had gone to address it. Because he passed away a couple of months later, but that was, I think it was his last trip to Delhi, where many people like us gathered. What to do? Chidambaram was the home minister. And his line was, we are going to re-establish rule of law in this lawless land, meaning Bastar, essentially Bastar. And then we will usher in development. Shameless lie. Just think of it. There are large areas in our country, in the 5th schedule forest region, where the Maoists don't operate. What has been the track record of the government in terms vis-a-vis development? I come from Visakhapatnam district in Andhra Pradesh. We have about 11 mandals. About 1/3 of the district is in the 5th schedule region. Now it's a separate district altogether. It's called the Alluri Sitaramaraju, the Great Level District. Adivasis die with fatal regularity year after year after year. Not because of cancer or some ailment for which we don't have medicine, but because of malaria, gastroenteritis, no clean water, year after year, regularly. What have you done there? What is your track record? This is just an excuse. Operation Green Hunt went on. 2014, the BJP comes to power. 2015, I think, there is something called the National Action Plan or something. Different name. Essentially the same impulse. The Naga battalion is bought in even more. The Indo-Tibetan Border Police is bought in large companies. Of course, the CRPF is always there. And these Salva Judum people who have now become what? Auxiliary force, and later on the DRG. And now they have a women's wing in the DRG also, very active. We are seeing video clips of that. And then move to 2017. They have something called Operation Samadhan, Prahar, fancy names. Essentially the same thing. Like all counter-insurgency operations, brutalize ordinary civilians, isolate the militants, and then try to finish them off. Which is more or less come to an end now. They have succeeded, to be honest. And then in 2024, you have Operation Kagar. And many of you are familiar, you're reading excellent reports. I mean, there's really no paucity of information, really. It is virtually a place where you cannot go to and conduct conventional fact-finding. I mean, we are sorry to say that the Human Rights Forum has long engagement with South Chhattisgarh, maybe not across the Indravati River in Kanker and Narayanpur, but certainly with Dantewada, Bijapur and Sukma, because they are adjoining our, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Khammam district se, we would take bikes, go across, do fact-finding, come and try to undermine official lies. Since COVID, we are not able to, nothing to do with the virus. It's just become too risky. Too risky because we've had some friends in other organizations who have gone, who have been picked up and booked under UAPA. Simple. You go across the border and come back. Oh, you have gone and met members of a banned organization, book in UAPA, thrown in Dantewada or Jagdalpur jail. We stopped going. We are sensible. We did go a few times, but not like before. Within Chhattisgarh, few and far between. I don't think there's an active media except the stenographic kind within Chhattisgarh. Very few brave journalists, very few. Extreme pressure, targeted. You would see funny reports emanating from the Hindustan Times reporter sitting in Raipur and talking about Bastar. You should be at Bastar, no? You should be at Jagdalpur or Dantewada. This was the situation. And this is understandable. For the state, if it wants to operate lawlessly, the first thing it wants to do is camouflage, hide repression, right? It doesn't want to. And you see it unfolding now in a manner where all kinds of assertions are criminalized. You've heard of the amazing organization called the Moolvasi Bachao Manch. Completely overground, completely democratic, totally peaceful, non-violent, young, amazing Adivasi boys and girls who have all suffered under Salva Judum. Many of them, some of them at least we knew because they come to Andhra for a livelihood. Khammam district, Cherla, Venkatapuram, particularly during the Michi season, which has just got over now, and then they go back and they rely on the forest, etc. They've all suffered immensely during the days of the Salva Judum, and later they all came together, decided that no, we are going to openly talk about repression. We are openly going to talk about land grab in 5th schedule. We are openly going to talk about camps coming up overnight. 2023, February, May, several friends, we went on a fact finding that is a product of that book, Security Insecurity in Bastar. For the first time in my life, I had to switch off my phone and go around like a underground activist or something. I left home, nobody knew except my partner and no one in the HRF also. Just got onto a train, went to Bela, did the same thing, and then other friends, and we got across and we tried to keep it hush hush, but they knew everything. It's not that they didn't, but we tried to keep it that way because we didn't want to get stopped, wanted to figure out what this whole camp business is. Why are camps coming up so massively? Why are roads being laid in a forest area where a simple road where a car can go like this and a car can go 4 lane, some places even 6 lane? Why? We all know it, but we wanted to check on the ground and figure out. I would urge you again to read that. Part of a good fact finding that's been also translated into Telugu. They're literally going after this whole Kagar thing. We're going for a second print very soon. I'm just saying, information from the ground was really, really hard to come by for people like us, for rights organizations. And it's tempting to draw a parallel with Sri Lanka. I think the Sri Lankan situation was far worse, much more in magnitude, much more serious and much more brutal in the manner we all know. There have been lots of Tamil youths who have come and showed us these cruel, these really, really ghoulish films and everything, where they literally, the Vanni was blocked off and there were artillery shelling and all. On a smaller scale, this is what is going on at Karragutta. They've hemmed them in. They literally moved the Maoists into this hill area, the small stretch of land from close to Bhadrachalam to north, Tarlaguda in the north. Malini, who's very, very good in these situations, she was unable to venture beyond a place called Kottapalli the other day because they simply blocked the whole thing off. We are in touch. We know many of the journalists on the ground in mandals like Vajedu, Venkatapuram, Dumugudem. They are like, sir, you open the television and there'll be all kinds of Hollywood, Bollywood stories, but there's nothing from the ground. We are all, kite flying. These guys from Hyderabad, Vijayawada want stories. We keep feeding them bullshit, but there's nothing. We can't go up the hill. We can't go near the hill. They just surrounded it. We don't know how many. Certainly more than 10,000 is what they are saying. And these security forces, I'm sorry. And these journalists have been there since many, many years. They know this movement. They know the issues. They've seen repression earlier. They've seen how the state has clamped down about ordinary Adivasis in various ways, not just extrajudicial killings, bind over proceedings, etc., on the border. Helpless, totally helpless. And now they've moved in there and we don't know. Every night I get up, I'm an old guy, I get up 2, 3 for susu. Even before I hit the bathroom door, I do encounter in Chhattisgarh. What may have gone? We don't know. The news is that we have to wait for the official version because there's no transparency at all. Now it's very convenient for them. They'll say it's high security, nothing at all. We will tell you what is going on. This is the situation there, and this has happened in the background of, I will not go deep into it except to guide you to that booklet because there's so many details about illegal land grab, contempt for protective legislation for Adivasis, which they have fought, struggled, made many sacrifices like PESA, FRA. Some friends are fond of saying, you implement that law. your law, it's not their law, it is our law. The Adivasis have fought for it. This is not something that Sonia Gandhi thought was a good thing that will happen to the Adivasis. This is born out of struggle. Forest Rights Act, PESA, LLARA, all these are being trashed, completely treated with contempt. There's no consent, there's no consultation, they're just grabbing. And camps are so expensive, they're not going to go anywhere. My sense is there's talk in activist circle that they want to clear the land of all Adivasis. I don't think they want to clear the land of all Adivasis. They want to clear the land certainly of all Maoists and people close to them who are unarmed. But they want the Adivasis there. They want hard, cheap slave labor. They want them to be there. They will keep them and they want to dig up the place. Massive extraction. I'll end with a small anecdote. I'm being too serious, I imagine. You were struggling for that word. It's actually iron ore. Yeah. Chhattisgarh has what? Some of the best minerals in town. Dolomite, you name it. Tungsten, largest, only tin ore. Kimberlite pipes in that place where they encountered that Chalapati, the central committee member, that Gariyaband. Diamond, gold, quartzite, bauxite, iron ore. I remember as a kid, 13, 14-year-old kid, I don't know how many of you would be knowing, Sridhara certainly would be knowing this gentleman called, he's no longer with us, C.V. Subbarao, one of the founders of this great PUDR, Sura. So he was there smoking Charminar all the time. I would walk up to him, Mama, what is Marxism? And he'd give me a good lecture. One day I asked him, what is imperialism? Hassled him, and one day he pulled out 20 paisa. He said, go get a bicycle on hire. He didn't know how to ride a bike. He sat. He said, take me to your school, St. Aloysius High School. I said, Mama, I asked imperialism. Mama, please, why you? St. Aloysius is like 3 kilometers away. No, let's go. We go to St. Aloysius, and on the ground, our ground, we're all it had a huge ground. There is this overhanging handling complex where you get the iron ore from Bailadilla by train. Some of you may have heard of the fancy place called Aruku, no? Nice train route that is originally for bringing iron ore, and later on they laid a pipeline for SR and all to get it in pellet form. They will bring it from the station. There is this pipeline which goes over my school straight into the ship, shipped out. That is imperialism, is what he said. This has been going on, and now we have come to a situation where there are 55, 65, 70 MOUs. Largely, I think 80-85% of them are with private players. No transparency, no scrutiny, all kinds of laws are being violated, and they're clearing that area to facilitate this loot. That is it. I hope there's a discussion. Maybe I can participate. Thank you so much. Thank you. You could have just